Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. He's just a working man.
I was going to do working 9 to 5.
What a way to kill some guys.
Russians. Hi, everybody.
Shoot some Russians. Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched A Working Man.
He's just a working man.
The film of the summer, folks.
Yep. Film of the season. This Saturday night at Starcade, Daddy, Jason Statham is going to be facing off against the Four Horsemen.
You shot a foot to the left, I'll be dead.
I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. I will be your weapon sommelier for this evening. This is the real beast here, M14. Pulled direct from Saddam's palace. Then I added a Bluetooth scope.
Arn Andersons, the Ric Flairs. Anyway.
Oh, beautiful. Anyway, oh my
That's
fucking God.
Dusty Rhodes, kids. Look him up.
We literally just watched this. We both have exited the theater.
I got home 8 minutes ago.
Yeah.
From the theater, and I had to sit down and furiously type out some notes.
Right, you're like Memento. You're
right,
like,
exactly.
Oh God,
yeah, it's like Guy Pearce when Carrie-Anne Moss is sitting in the driveway. He's like, I gotta find a fucking pen.
I luckily had plenty of room to take notes in the theater. There were people; they were just very spread out.
You guys can hear me typing it out. I'm trying to get one last thought out. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, we're as you said, Tom, you were the youngest person in the theater, as was I. This movie it feels like, because it was written by Sylvester Stallone
and David Ayer.
Right, it feels like it was just something they wanted to watch personally, and so they made it.
It's my God, it's an even more atrocious boomer fantasy than the Beekeeper was.
Well, you know what it is? It's not a boomer fantasy. It's a Gen X. It's even a millennial, I realized. It's war in Iraq veterans. It's specifically, he waterboards someone in this. Mm-hmm. He has multiple water kills, I noticed. He's like Aquaman. Almost every kill involves water, but he it's well,
not almost every kill. It's just two significant ones.
No, he even shoots a guy into a puddle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
He shoots the penguin into random water. That's just in the fucking room.
All three of the big wigs get blasted into the cleansing power of water, Dave.
Yeah, I think there's some like symbolism there that they added in. Yeah,
I think it's probably literally what I just said. That's
I think so too. This wasn't not fun, but I'll say at the top of this, if you want the Beekeeper, go watch the Beekeeper.
This is not the Beekeeper, yeah. The missing special sauce is clearly Kurt Wimmer.
Yeah.
Because this is... Beekeeper was... I agree with you that the time period is the Iraq War, but this is still a boomer-ass fantasy because, like... The version of human trafficking in this film is a Facebook urban legend. It's a boomer Facebook urban legend. Also, it takes place in Chicago, the scariest, most crime-ridden place. Like this movie,
right?
It's
Chicago.
It's like more means. Sorry, just to finish this thought.
Yeah.
It's Kurt Wimmer is a beautiful himbo who is just writing boomer porn. I think accidentally. This one is like more explicitly right wing.
Yes, it takes place in Chicago until it takes place. It briefly takes place in the redwoods of Chicago when he goes to visit.
Does. Yeah, the vast
Daredevil fucking David Harbour, who does nothing. nothing.
Yeah, I
for
really
this
thought
film.
he was going to be the Wilford Brimley, and Act 3 was going to be at his house, and he was going to like blind arrow a couple of people because they set up he can blind arrow a fucking fly's wings off.
Right. So this felt very much like an 80s Reagan era, like Van Damme or Stallone film. Like it had that feeling of like, you know, when you like look at all the movies they've done and you're like, what's that one? And you find it randomly like years later and then you watch it and you're like, it was okay. You know, like it's one of those.
It feels like Cobra.
Yeah, it's
like
got Cobra.
The tone and like pacing is very Cobra.
It is. And so it is. It's Jason Statham as a working man. Let's go through it. The opening credits, I just want to know, are just explosions after explosions and fucking construction.
And they were blending the construction
flags.
And the war.
Yeah.
I was going to say lots of flags, countless American and British flags, because a thing they keep reminding you of in this movie is, I'm British, but I'm also American.
Yes. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
He has a British American flag he gives his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, that's you. You're this flag.
You're half and half.
Yep.
No. But like, you remember the cement mixer that was a grenade? Like it was the grenade was the tub in the oh my goodness. But
here's the thing this movie needed to do after those credits. Every kill should have involved construction equipment. Every scene should have been him finding a construction site and leading the bad guys there because that's all he knows to use. That's
just
what
like
this movie
tools.
should have been. Yeah,
he does beat the holy hell out of a guy with a hammer later, but
not enough.
Not enough. Yeah.
So we
it's a lot of
see him
shotguns.
Yeah. We start with him on a construction site giving a construction speech. Like, we're going to go out there today. And like a coach. He gives like a speech to all the people.
Yeah.
He's a foreman.
Yeah.
I don't think they do that at a construction site.
He
has to beat up some construction thuds.
I know.
And this was where I was like, this is all right. He's beating up construction thugs. It's all construction related. We got a movie, you know?
He pulls a shotgun out on these guys. Like first of all, like these two goons show up in a gigantic Dodge Ram.
Yeah.
Also, did you count how many vehicles Statham has in this movie?
Yeah, and they're all Rams, aren't they? It's all Dodge.
No. His first one is an F-150. His second one is a gigantic Dodge Ram, much like the guys in this scene.
Right. He shows
although
up in
it
a
is not the same
motorcycle.
Dodge Ram. They established later he has rented this one. And
He
then
shows
his
up in a-
third vehicle, Dave, is a motorcycle.
Right, and just sorry, part of this the thread of this movie where we'll see is he's sleeping in his car because he can't afford a place because he's saving up money.
For lawyers.
And we'll talk about why for lawyers. Sell one of those cars, Jason.
Sell the motorcycle, man. What do
sell
you need
the
it
fucking
for?
motorcycle. Yeah. There's your problem. Where are you even keeping that? He probably has to rent a garage for that thing.
Yeah. He
Come
just
on,
whips
man.
out a motorcycle halfway through the film.
Yeah. So the reason he needs lawyers is he is simultaneously a widower and divorced somehow.
Yes.
Like so he just wants his daughter back from his father-in-law, who is keeping his daughter, who's somehow like pushed him out of this because his wife committed suicide. So they just slam you with as many things as possible.
Yeah, it's very Con Air in that sense. Because like they really, one of the most incredible things about this film.
Well, he goes to his.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you go. So much
is that everybody just says what they're feeling.
Oh yeah.
Like he takes his daughter to like a diner where he has this gigantic milkshake that he never touches.
Yeah, why would he? That's carbs.
Yeah, he's not going to drink that fucking milkshake.
Yeah,
like he breathes on a beer later. That's but anyway.
Yeah.
Like she just says, "Dad, can I say something to you?" And he's like, "Sure, you know you can." And she says, "I'm angry at mommy for dying."
That was an amazing
I'm mad
line.
at mommy for dying, and he's like, "Yeah, I know." And then the scene ends. It's like, oh, that's normally like the thing that would be like her character, and you would have that like undercurrent beneath all of her actions and words and stuff, but you wouldn't just write it right on the fucking cake, dude.
The little girl who performs it like an actress who's like, why would I say this? Like, you could tell even
She
the little
knows
girl,
the line is bad.
Yeah, she does. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, we meet the father-in-law, who I just want to note lives in the fanciest part of town and is introduced, I wrote it down, wearing a frilly red hat and a snakeskin sweater.
He is having an Alice in Wonderland party in his backyard for no reason.
He's like, it's her birthday, I guess.
No, it's not.
He gives her a gift at the diner. Jason
He just
Statham
gives her a gift because, like, he specifically
Maybe my
asked.
brain was trying to
you
make
tried
it
to
make
fill
sense.
it in so it would make sense. No, like he explicitly asks the father-in-law. He's like, "What's the occasion?" And he's just like, "Oh, no occasion." And that's like one of the things he's bitching about to his lawyers later. He's like, he deliberately threw a party on my visitation day.
Right. Like a weird, wacky
Like a
party.
fucking, like it seems like a child's birthday party.
Yeah.
But like this movie is like aggressively anti-intellectual.
Yes.
Like they paint this dude as like
he's a doctor.
He's a doctor, but he's like extremely queer-coded. He's like extremely leftist in like the way he speaks. It's like he speaks in the
Academic way about him. Yeah.
That like every right winger insists. He's like a right wing straw man come to life.
Oh yeah, I think basically every character.
Kind of is, yeah.
Yes, every bad character. It's written from the perspective of like a near 70-year-old man, perhaps. It has like the vibes.
Stallone.
Yeah,
Stallone is approaching 80, my friend. If he's not already there.
It's written like the world is so like bizarre. Like it's written by someone who's afraid of the world.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Because the plot is that but it's also this guy. I want to note he's working at a construction site, and then his boss is
Michael Pena.
Fucking Michael Pena, and he's like, I'll do anything for my boss. I love you. Like he's like, we're family. And I was like, you're living in your car, Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Like clearly your boss isn't very good. But they
know
like,
he is. I think they make a comment about it to him.
But they just sort of like, it's Jason Statham being like,
wait, his lawyers too. I'm sorry.
I love my boss. I'm doing anything for my boss. And there's this general feeling of like, look at this young lady going out and partying. Of course she gets kidnapped. We learn that she gave up a music scholarship to become a land developer, as the father puts it. He's like, she wanted to
be like her old man. So yeah, she apparently
evil guy. Like
yeah.
Like
a
Michael
land
Pena
developer
is the
who
villain.
pays his foreman so little he has to sleep in his car.
I assumed Michael Pena was the bad guy. Because I was like, look at this guy. He's so clearly a bad guy. He's a land developer who's paying him pennies. And it's like, no, he's the good guy. He's an innocent business owner. And I thought that was amazing.
But yeah, she gives up a music scholarship to go to business school to follow in her dad's footsteps and run this business because the humanities are bullshit. It's like it's nice to be able to play piano, but you need to throw all that away.
Kidnapped.
Yeah, you gotta be a real working person. That's not
exactly.
The arts are bullshit. But also like you apply for scholarships, they don't just come up to you.
No, it's apparently not, Tom. You're incorrect. The movie is clearly stated.
If you noticed, she's the designated driver on that night out, I'm pretty sure. She's the one that's like taking care of that girl when she's like sloppy drunk and throwing up.
Right.
Or she's at the very least being shown to be responsible.
The bar scene is where I also was like, this is clearly written by a very old man, because the first thing they do is they go to a club where I believe they kind of disco dance. They have a coordinated
dance.
Yeah, to like disco music.
Yeah.
And then they go to a river dance bar after that.
Yeah, then I thought for a second, because it cut in a kind of a confusing way, I want to talk a little bit about that if I thought it was just like that. It just cuts all of a sudden, and they're in like they're like dancing while a guy is playing an Irish penny whistle at them.
It was like something in Airplane that would happen.
Yes, and so I, like for half a second I was like, does this bar have themed rooms? But it was supposed to be a bar crawl, and they were going to different bars. But anyway.
But it's like, it just clearly felt like the point of view of an old person who hasn't been to a bar in a while.
Oh my God.
Of like, those kids and their disco dancing and their river dance or something. It's so weird.
They do those dances on TikTok. They all do coordinated dances. Like, not at the fucking club, man.
Yeah. The bartender.
There's so much.
I know.
The bartender.
Skeezy bartender with his facial hair.
He is just openly dealing drugs at the bar. Yeah. And skimming off the register. It's like, again.
And trafficking women. Just spinning a lot of plates. He's got a lot going on. And so, she gets kidnapped.
Yeah, she gets grabbed by a human. What I said earlier, it's like a Facebook urban legend. Like, I'm sure things like this do happen, but like...
things happen all the time. It's
sure, but like
this feels like propaganda. This movie.
It's like it's this dude just like follows around attractive women at the club, taking their picture and sends them to his human traffic boss, who then sends the pictures to his clients, and they pick one, and then they kidnap that person.
Right, and I'm not an expert in human trafficking.
No, but I know that's a freaking like boomer urban legend on Facebook.
Because this is the thing. When you read about how human trafficking works, it tends to be like migrants. It tends to be people who are desperate, who will perhaps easily go off the grid.
Yeah, undocumented in
It's not rich kids in a bar.
No, it's right. It's certainly not like the daughter of a wealthy land developer.
Yeah, you don't listen, human trafficking 101. You don't human traffic people who will immediately be
missed.
Yeah. And that's, it's fucked up, but and that's why it's an urban legend. It's sort of like it's not that these things don't happen. It's that they don't happen the way middle class, like upper middle class scared white people are imagining.
Yeah, like this is such a terrified old white guy, like a white guy who's just scared of like urban legend versions of crimes. Like
this movie feels like he's scared of the world.
Like it's like that in Rambo Last Blood too. Like this is not dissimilar from Rambo Last Blood.
No, not at all.
He kind of just rewrote it a little bit.
Yes. So Jason Statham, Michael Pena is like, I know you are clearly a badass. You're ex.
I can see you guys coming from a mile away. It's like, I fucking laughed out loud in this theater full of ancient people.
And he's like, find my daughter. And I want to just.
I'm sorry. It's just like. They just start this scene where Jason Statham walks into work and Michael Pena's like, our daughter's missing, and then he hands him this stack of cash. I know you're the ultimate badass. I could see you guys coming from a mile away. They just cut all of that like
it means that morning they found out their daughter was missing.
So breathtaking. Sorry.
Michael Pena got all that money out of the bank because he's like, I'm gonna go into work and I'm gonna hand him this money.
Right, because he could just tell that he's a one-man army.
And so this is a running theme, but I want to note that what happens here is Jason Statham goes, that's not me anymore. And he leaves and he goes to visit David Harbour and he takes like a day and a half. And I was like, well, she's dead.
Yeah.
Like he shows back up and he's like, all right, I'll do it. And it's like, it's been like 48 hours.
She's dead in Russia, man. Or like you will never find her.
Yeah. And that is a running theme for this movie that he just meanders.
She
has to rescue herself.
He randomly does like, oh my gosh. Like he'll do like one investigative thing and then just spend a really long time setting up his own like
he does like
dealing operation.
Yeah, he does like a Point Break. He's like, I'm gonna get him from the inside slowly over a week,
and then
I'm like, she is dead in a ditch, man. Like,
did you notice this? Like, he follows a clue to the Roadhouse bar, right? Well,
yeah,
I forget what I think it's the.
He like forgets what he's doing.
I think the bartender
biker
tells him. Like
he
that.
meets the biker king.
Yeah, so he goes and meets the biker king at the bar. Anyway, so he gets a clue that tells him to go to that Roadhouse bar because it's connecting to this human trafficking trade. And then, that's when he like does the Point Break thing, and then he goes and meets the biker king's boss and all this other stuff. And then later, he finds another clue that this Roadhouse is connected to the human trafficking thing, and he goes back there again to look for more clues. It's like, dude, you fucking know this place is all. You already know this place is connected to the operation. Like,
is this when he goes back and he hides his giant truck behind some bushes, and they immediately go, there he is behind the bushes. I laughed out loud.
He followed a clue he already had to the same location to spy on the dude that he's already spying on.
He buys drugs with Michael Pena's money and throws them out twice.
He throws one into a river, like in a sealed
where some
bag.
Kid is gonna find it.
Some kid's gonna pick that up.
Just eat it.
Or you're gonna poison like half the wildlife.
He fucking, oh my God. Yeah,
there's so many incredible things in this.
The movie just, it comes to a screeching halt. This is why it's not a Beekeeper.
No.
Because he follows the bartender. He gives him, he fucking waterboards him in his own tub.
Shit out of him, yeah.
And then the Russians show up, and he has a shootout. And then the next day we get one of several, there are several characters where I was like, oh, that's the main guy. Nope, I guess that's the main guy.
Yes.
Oh, I guess that's the main guy. So, fucking, what's his name? Jason Fleming shows up, and I was like, "There's our main guy."
Yeah,
he shows up.
He was second build.
Yeah,
and he shows up with a fur coat draped over his shoulders with two henchmen.
Dressed like the Dumb and Dumber suits. The henchmen. They're dressed like
these paisley tracksuits.
Yes, they're blue and orange themed. Yeah. And they are out of this fucking world.
Right. They look like the Golden Girls are trying to join the Russian mob.
Yes. This is a running theme. Later, the trafficker looks like fucking Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows.
I want to talk about this dude. I have written down that he looks like a Tekken character.
Yeah.
Like, he's dressed... The king of the trafficking organization he's dressed in a frilly pink suit with a puffy white shirt. With a pink Macho Man cowboy hat with a gigantic feather in it.
Yes. We also see a running theme here, which is that he shoots those people, and there's not even sirens. No cops are called. And what we learn later is that he has the cops in his pocket. But I was like, every cop in America?
There's two cops in Chicago. He has both of them on his payroll.
Right. It's so weird because he shoots people with a shotgun and leaves this apartment, and they just show up the next day with like cleaners, and the mob takes care of it. I was like, in that time, no cops.
Nope.
All right. He puts a tracker on Jason Fleming. He watches him slap the shit out of his wife because he's bad.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to Pilates. He drowns him. He throws a coffee at him and drowns him.
Yeah,
basically punches him out, interrogates him, drowns him. And now we're getting they want to do John Wick, right? So people keep calling him a demon throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And now we have the Russian higher up being like, they killed my brother. We're gonna get him. And I kept getting lost of like how this was at all related to the kidnapping. And you find out it's like
it's not
this
really.
Main thread isn't at all. Yeah. It's Jason Fleming's nephew, I believe, is the guy.
No, I
doing
think he's
the trafficking.
His brother.
No, his nephew is Nandor. Because Nandor is like a random cousin. He's like, everybody keeps me in the dark. So he's in the Russian family, but he's sort of on the side. So like, it doesn't.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I was there. Those two guys in the tracksuits later on. They say to Statham, "You killed our uncle,"
right.
And they meant Fleming. I was mixing those characters up.
Right. basically what happens is he kills this random bartender who is working with Nandor to scope out chicks.
Did you notice when he goes to the bartender's house, like he just has every drug in the universe on his coffee table. He has
a picture of a gun.
He has a picture of a gun on the wall. He later pulls out the same gun.
It's very like it's like, look at this guy getting high on the devil's weed.
But he's hit, like he is ripping a bong with like all of these lines of coke out in front of him, and it's like that. I think you're at cross purposes there.
Yeah, I love it when again it feels like it's written by someone who doesn't know the world,
right?
Where it's like drug people doing all the drugs,
right.
He's doing cocaine and weeds,
written by somebody who's never done drugs before.
Yeah.
Which is weird from Stallone because I know he's done drugs before.
Yeah.
Specifically these drugs.
Yep. So he water kills this guy, and this is where we get another thread. Again, they call him a demon. I wrote down this Jason Fleming line. Who are you? What are you? Fuck you. And they do this thing where the Russian mob are like, they act like they've never, because they're like, why would you rescue this one person? All this effort for one person. And I'm like, have you heard of cops? Like, have you heard of like they act like they don't understand, like she's John Wick's dog, where they're like, oh, this for one measly kidnapped wealthy lady. Like they for some reason they don't seem to grasp, like
this is one of the specific
they kidnapped
reasons
a woman from a bar.
Exactly. This is one of the specific reasons why traffickers usually go for people that slip between the cracks and not people who will be missed. This is one specific reason.
They act like that's what she was, and they're like, you got her in a fucking
like
bar
later on,
during a bar crawl.
Right, like later on, it's like, why do you care so much for a whore? It's like, you know she's not. Like, you abducted her.
And they act so amazed.
Yeah.
Because they want to John Wick it. They want to do the people being like, oh, this for one dog. And it's like, no, it's not
it's a
that,
human.
though.
Like, what? Like, why wouldn't you assume she's his kid or something?
Right. Or that he's just a cop or something who's gone nuts. I guess he's killing people.
He's being, he's being vigilante. So, but like you would assume, right? You would assume that he's at least related to her.
Did you notice that after he kills him, they play the Jaws theme?
The Jaws theme they play constantly in the movie.
Yes. And I know they did it on purpose because they want the idea that he's the shark in Jaws. He's never going to stop. But also he does water murders. He's a water murderer. Yeah. And so I don't know. It's a weird, I get what you're saying, the cleansing water, but it's not like he's not like a priest. Like, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, it's weird that that's the theme they picked, is cleansing water murders.
It's not weird for Stallone and Ayer.
Yeah. So he goes.
Fuck, I had a thought there about the water. Oh yeah, there's they just, again, because this is the most subtle thing the movie does, and it's not subtle at all. Yeah, is the lady with shit written on her forehead, like one of the kidnappers.
One of the impossibly like evil people.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of people from the future in this. We're going to talk about those guys. There's a lot of time. There's like four time cop henchmen.
There are.
But she's tapping on the glass of this aquarium, and she's like, "I like these little ones. They look like sharks." And then it immediately cuts to, I think, Statham doing something with that Jaws theme playing.
No, it's even worse than that. It cuts. Someone slaps on the glass. It's the Russian pervert
with the red hand. That's right.
And he's like, "She bit me like some kind of little shark or something. Yeah. This lady bit me."
And then
she's
that
the
Jaws theme is playing. Yeah.
Yeah, because the idea is she has a scene early where she talks to Jason Statham. She gives him the lunch, and they like share a secret. She's like, I saw you pull a shotgun on those Russian like thugs, or the construction thugs. Apparently, no one else saw this, by the way. And they go, snitches get stitches, our little secret. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, I was also taught to be a badass. I'm sure that won't come out later. And bye. And it's like, oh, okay.
It was even earlier than that. It was in the, when Statham first comes in to the office trailer that morning.
Oh, right.
And we meet them for the first time. And that scene is inexplicably filmed like an episode of The Shield. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that? Where it's like
there's a lot of that.
A handheld, like, whip pans and lots of cuts. I'm like, this is just a normal conversation. Why are you filming it like it's like fucking airport?
There's a lot of that.
Anyway,
it's
in
wild.
the scene, like, Michael Pena makes some comment to her, like she wants the credit card to go out that night. He's like, she's like, come on, you owe me. I'm working here for you. He's like, yeah, I owe you. What about, all the money I spent, living 18 years of groceries, karate lessons.
Right. They keep setting it up.
And as soon
Murder lessons.
Yeah. I saw this with my brother, and it's like as soon as Michael Pena said that, he leaned over me and said, Chekhov's karate lessons. So it's like Kiss the Girls,
true.
which I know you and Abe just covered.
I love that movie. So this is where they go to the fucking bar. He meets the biker king with his throne in his throne room.
That guy was super familiar. Do you happen to know what he was? I got to look him up later.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna live because they have
the
Marine
army
solidarity.
Yeah, he's an Army Ranger. Statham is I don't whatever the British service.
I
is
looked him
called.
in. He plays Gladiator in Gladiator 2.
Oh,
yeah. So he's a gladiator. He's in a bunch of things.
Was he on Game of
seen him.
Thrones? Maybe.
I don't know. He was in Doom Annihilation, so he's pretty cool. Pretty cool
rad.
guy.
Yeah, that movie is kind of sweet.
Yeah. But so like this is all right. So this is the moment where I was like,
he's like the bad working man, right? He's like because they both got out of the army, but they chose the opposite paths, right?
Right. And this was the moment because this whole time I was watching this movie, I'm like, oh, look at this old boomer bait. And then they get in a fight and they play Dropkick Murphys, and I was like, oh no, I'm old. It's me.
Dave the Departed came out 21 years ago.
I know, and it was just the realization of like, oh God, this is for my generation now. Fuck.
Well, some of it, I still think that was for the boomers too, because Dropkick Murphys were in The Departed.
The boomers that's true.
That's it. That's a dad ass movie.
This is the cop testing scene. He decides that Jason Statham is too swole to be a cop, which feels like a very like a very fucking goddamn it.
Weird
terrible
assumption to make.
Yeah.
But I love how many people just look at him and are like,
Steven Seagal. It feels like a Seagal
yeah.
thing that would happen. It's like, you're too cool to be.
That's basically what Michael Pena said. It's like, I saw how awesome you were. I could just tell that you fucking kick ass.
And this is where the movie just completely forgets what it's doing.
Yeah.
This is where it becomes
point breaks for 45 minutes.
Yeah, where he just spends days as an undercover drug dealer for this biker. And I can't stress because the movie, again, he's a shark, right? That's what they want you to think. They're playing the Jaws theme.
Yeah, he's relentless.
He finds evidence. He follows that evidence to a person. He interrogates them or tortures them, kills them, and goes to the next thing. That's what the movie's been. And then he just stops in his tracks and decides to play undercover drug dealer. And again, it's been a week. She's dead.
Yeah.
She's dead.
Hyper dead, dude. Like, when he spies on them for the first time, he notices them carrying a fucking gigantic blue Jeffrey Dahmer barrel inside. It's like, you know what that is, dude. You know what that's for.
Right.
Fuck. What was I thinking about?
Just the undercover shit.
Oh, yeah. When he's following the clues, he sets up his secret or fucking fake drug operation with the biker king, right? So like the next day he gets his drugs, and that's the first bag that he throws into the toilet.
The pancake scene, yeah. No, first bag is the one he throws out the window.
Yeah, that's right. That's the first bag because it's underneath the seat in his car. That's right.
Yeah.
I did genuinely laugh at that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, how about you get out of here? You take this phone. I'll call you and let you know where the drugs are. So he picks up the phone and he's like, okay, where am I going? He's like, they're under your seat, man.
Yeah. That was fun.
Good one. But yeah, the second time is when he goes to the diner to pick them up and just ruins that guy's breakfast.
No, that's the first time.
Oh, that is the first time. Yeah, that's right, because he picks up the phone from them.
He menacingly syrups him.
That's right. He hands them the money and they give him the phone. Yeah, that guy that looks like Thin Huckleberry from Mountain Monsters.
He does. I kept trying to place him, and I concluded he just looks like a lot of people.
He's Cocaine Thin Huckleberry.
He is. And then he meets the bad guy who I wrote down his line. He is small potatoes. I am big potatoes.
But that was the thing I was getting to is like the very next day after that, the biker king is like, you're really moving all this stuff. So I'm going to take you to meet my big guy, my supplier. And he goes and sits down and the guy introduces himself as Demi. So he's been like looking for Demi, and you see like Statham's like, ooh, it's a bit like the Silence of the Lambs
ending. They do like the
Kill Bill. He didn't realize
he knows.
He didn't know that was Demi. He clearly didn't expect to meet him this early.
Yeah.
But like, investigation over. That's the guy. You know, right. That's the guy.
And we know that he can kill a room full of people, and all he has to do is kill a room full of people and torture this guy, which he does later. Like 40 minutes later.
For some reason, like, he knows Demi's the guy. That's the guy he's been looking for. But for some reason, he takes several more days after this.
You could. So, like, this movie is 2 hours.
This is when he goes and finds the other clue that leads him the same clue that leads him right back to the biker bar.
This movie is 2 hours. You could you could do it. I could do it in an hour. I could make a 90-minute cut of this movie in minutes, really.
Yeah.
Because
there
it is
butcher cuts that are very obvious.
Yeah, because he meets fucking Nandor. He's like, "Hi, it's me," and I was like, "Oh, here we go." Yeah, and I was like, "Here we fucking go." He's gonna do what he's been doing. He's gonna torture him. It's already been like a week. He's got to fucking go with this. She's dead already.
Yeah.
And then he just keeps playing drug dealer for a while. You said, he goes back to the biker bar.
Like several pounds of blue drugs from this dude, and like flushes them down the toilet in the same bar, like spilling a lot of it on the floor.
Yeah, what are you doing, man? And so we get him, his truck behind the bushes, the cops, crooked cops. We meet the big bad with his skull cane. That he brings to identify his son's bodies.
He sure does.
Because we get the van fight, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, the van fight was pretty cool. That's where he grabs a toolbox, and I was like, "Oh yeah, working man."
Yeah. And then of course they do the thing that I knew they were going to do. He finally gets a call from the school, and they're like, "Hey, your daughter is she needs someone to pick her up." Oh yeah, and so the main bad guys, he employs his vampires to go. They find out who he is.
Right, yeah. Skull Cane dude goes to like the high table, and like the head of the high table, like the Putin, I guess, is like, yeah, I'll send my future Matrix assassins after him.
Yeah, they are wild.
They're incredible.
It's Blade villains.
Yeah,
they're
straight up Blade villains. This one dude is wearing a puffy, shiny vinyl coat with an M60. He brings a belt-fed M60 into the club.
These are guys where it's like you can't imagine them getting anywhere around public, where it's like you'd see them and you like any cop would immediately like fire on them. Like they just look like a crime in progress at all times.
They look like time cop henchmen.
They do.
They're at the least Terminators. Like they came from the future to destroy the past.
They find out where his sissy father-in-law lives. And
they hate him so much. They come in, he's doing yoga.
Right, and they do. I assume they were just going to murder the shit out of him.
Why wouldn't they just murder him?
They tie him up like fucking robber barons and this fucking set his house on fire with him around it. That is pretty cruel. That's pretty gnarly. It is. But it takes a while because Jason Statham picks his daughter up and has the funniest conversation where he goes, "So honey, I might have messed up." Like it never occurred to him until this moment.
Right.
That like, why didn't I just go on a murder spree? Why am I playing undercover?
Also,
I gave them my ID. It's a fake ID, but it's still my picture.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Honey, I think I might have accidentally got the Russian mob to come after us."
Well, the thing of it is Jason Fleming tells him this. He's like, "They will kill everybody you care about." He's like, "All right, I'll make sure to remember that." And then
he doesn't remember it.
He doesn't remember it. And this he's like, "Oh shit, they're gonna kill everybody I care about."
Because he gets the call from the school,
deletes
like,
it
"Come
from
pick
his
up
mind."
your daughter," and it's like, your daughter could have been kidnapped. I thought she was going to be kidnapped. Like they have to.
Why
the
wasn't
movie
it
has to
his
remind
daughter
him.
that was kidnapped? Like,
Right.
what the fuck is he doing? Like, he's endangering the shit out of his own child for somebody else's adult child?
Right, and he has to be reminded that that's what's happening. So they go, he rescues the father-in-law, who I guess means all is forgiven. And I'm like, no, even
Sort
the father-in-law points out, he's like, you brought this upon us. And it's like,
you did all this to us. And then his Statham's daughter says to him, hey, he just saved your life. Shut up.
It's like, yeah, because he got me almost killed by the Russian mob.
Right. It's like he shot me in the stomach and then took me to the hospital.
Right. This is going to end with him on the run. He is not legally getting his daughter back.
No, he's going to prison.
This. Yeah.
He's going to he's going to many prisons.
Right. They act like he's not, and he's super duper is. Yes.
They're going to Iron Giant him. They're going to spread his body parts to the four corners of the earth.
Right. He goes and he hides his daughter with David Harbour, who's, again, useless in this movie. He just says, go hang out. I don't know why he's in this movie. I don't know why.
It's confounding. Like I said, I thought he was going to be like Wilford Brimley from Hard Target, and they were going to have the act 3 at his house, but nope. He just leaves his daughter with them.
He's like, I got to do reshoots for Thunderbolts, guys. Sorry. I don't know how to say this delicately. That movie's more important than this movie.
Yeah. You get me for a day.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
I'm right. He's in 3. I'm sure they could have shot him out in a day.
Yeah,
maybe a couple, maybe 2 or 3, but.
And at this point, they have a nice night and talk about all the good stuff they did during the war on terror.
They did in the Iraq War, yeah.
And I'm like, he knows how to waterboard somebody.
Coalition trip. While he's waterboarding that guy, he explains that the only reason it hurts is because the guy has a weak mind. Like, he's basically like, you're not really drowning. It's your brain telling you that you're drowning because you're a stupid little bitch. And it's like, no, he is also suffocating.
Right. Cut to them being like, yeah, we did some great work during the war on terror. And it's like, no, you didn't.
Well, he points at the gold-plated Kalashnikov on his wall and says, and then there's the gold-plated version looted from Saddam's palace. I'm like, this is like the least thing to like, I don't really care about this, but that's a war crime.
Right.
Like, maybe don't hang that on your wall, David Harbour. Keep that like in a box somewhere.
It felt like catnip for war on terror vets because it was like all the guns I feel like were probably Iraq war era.
Forgiven. Yeah. Well, he does say it's killed X, number of Americans since 1940 or 50 or whatever.
At this point, I wrote, you forgot to rescue the girl, the woman. Because at this point, it's like, what is happening?
It has genuinely been days. Like, we know days have passed.
Oh, yeah. I was counting. I was like, it's night. It's night. It's night. Like, whenever they would go from day to night, day to night, day to night, it happened like 3 or 4 times. There's scenes where he's just like in his house or in his murder apartment, just like hanging out, making phone calls in his sweatpants. It's like, this isn't a rampage. This is like,
at one point he's wearing a t-shirt with a Bible verse on it.
Yeah, it's just like he's really acting like he's playing the long con here. It's so weird.
Oh, I just remembered the thing I wanted to point out about the clue that he finds that sends him back to the Roadhouse bar is he looks through the bartender's phone, Johnny's phone. He's had it for 2 or 3 days at this point.
Oh, right.
Why is he just now looking through Johnny the fucking human trafficking bartender's phone for fucking clues?
The first guy he talked to. Yeah.
You have his phone. There's probably mountains of clues in there.
To point to like really hammer home how bad he is at finding her, she essentially dies twice before he gets to her. What I mean is she basically she bites the penguin.
Bites his face off.
He says kill her. And they're like, okay, even though we've been killing people and we own the cops, we're going to drive you out to the woods to kill you. And on their way to drive her to the woods, she rescues herself.
She's been in captivity for at least a day or two, like 2 or 3 days at that point. It's not like immediately. Like he bites the dude's face off, and then like a couple days later, they're like, "Oh, we want you to kill her." So she's in a kiss the girl cell. Why wouldn't they just open the door and shoot her?
Exactly. So she's lucky that they didn't figure that out. Mm-hmm. She's lucky that she's not in Russia. Like he doesn't
Right.
even try.
Or anywhere.
Right. Or yeah, she's like Texas. Like if you brought her to Texas, Jason Statham wouldn't have found her at this rate. She rescues herself. She kicks the crap out of them in the car.
Yeah.
And gets out of her restraint. So
It's
I'm like,
real-
okay.
It's a
That's
real
the one-
Crystal Skull, like when him and Shia just kicked the shit out of that one dude. They just keep kicking him in the face. Oh, better reference. Spider-Man kicking Macho Man.
Yes.
Since we already had one Macho Man reference.
So that's the one. She would have died that time had she not gotten away.
Mhm.
She gets rescued by the cops, learns that they're bad cops, and then they take her to the haunted casino, back of the haunted casino. That is where they're going to murder people
They lead
also throw a casino night. Like they bring her there to murder her. They're like, this is the place where we murder people and do our casino night. But anyway, and they literally have her in the mud with a shotgun, and they're like, we are about to kill her. And she gets Deus Ex perverted because the penguin calls and goes, don't kill her, actually. I want to kill her. So that's twice she would have died that she was not saved by Jason Statham.
Also in this...
She just lucked out of those two deaths. She would have died twice before Jason Statham thought to rescue her.
Well, and I wanted to... Yeah, exactly. And even another thing I wanted to point out about this scene is like when she kicks the shit out of them and makes them crash the car and escapes, she starts off by saying the Lord's Prayer. So
yeah, she does.
Right. So she is preparing to die doing this. She's like, well, I don't want to go wherever they're taking me, so I'm going to at least take something out of their ass before I go.
Yeah.
And then later on, she's free of her leg restraints and her hand restraints when they have her in the mud with the shotgun on her. And then when she hears that phone call because they FaceTime it. Because he wants to see proof that she's still alive, and he's like, "Oh, good, bring her to me so that I can torture her to death." Basically, is what he says. Yeah. She's not restrained at this point. I'd be like, "I'm gonna make you use that shotgun." I think, that's how she started this scene,
I'm gonna
being
make
like,
a run for it.
Right, like she started this scene being like, "I don't want to go where they're taking me, so let's, why?" Anyway.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Also,
like
the
she
Lord's
forgets that.
prayer.
Anyway,
the bad lady turns her and goes like, "God isn't here.
God isn't here.
I'm an atheist." Blah.
Yeah.
Like it's that. It's so like this is a thinly veiled Kevin Sorbo film.
It is.
Like they do.
Very right wing. Yeah.
It's amazing. So yeah, this is.
I
where
can't
Casino
believe
Night
they
happens.
had that bit about her turning down a music scholarship to go to business school because she wanted to be like her pops. Is what
the
Michael
land
Pena
developer
says. Yeah, the land developer.
It is. This is
who pays day workers under the table shittily.
Yep. Holy shit. So yeah, so this is where they have Casino Night. I'm still not quite sure because am I mistaken? It really looked like they brought her to like the haunted, like abandoned house to kill her. And then when he finally rescues her, it's the same house, but as a casino.
Yeah, with torches out front.
Yeah, like it's like
why
are they having casino night? It feels like the rich guy was like, okay, I have a better idea. Don't shoot her in the mud puddle outside that abandoned building. We're gonna have a party. We're gonna have a casino night. I'll pay for it. I'm inviting all my freak friends. Where the whole Matrix is gonna be there. We're gonna have a great time.
And the farmhouse, like they put all these torches and stuff up, so it looks like the castle at the end of Army of Darkness. Like it's really fucking weird. Like it's medieval night, but also casino night, and there's people inside wearing flapper themed costumes.
Yes, I think for whatever reason,
the penguin's wearing a fucking cape.
Yes. When we call him the penguin, it's because he's dressed like the penguin.
Penguin. He has a top hat, a cape, and a cigarette holder.
Yeah, it's incredible. And a ponytail.
And he's a weird pervert.
Yeah.
Like the Danny DeVito penguin.
It feels like they had this location for the shootout, and then they needed this extra we're going to kill her scene or something, and they're like, just use the same place.
It's the second time they go back to the same place. Like he goes back to the roadhouse.
You're right. It really feels like they were like, listen, our location budget has been slashed in half.
Yeah.
We're going to have to, we could make this movie 90 minutes, but no, of course not. We're not going to do that. Like there's so much of this, like we don't need this sequence. If you think about it, like she could have bit him and he could have said, oh, now I'm going to torture you. right? But he says, kill her. They do this whole sequence. They go to kill her. And then he says, never mind, bring her back
to me. Why wasn't that the same scene?
Yeah. There's so much where like bloat.
Why wasn't
it's so weird.
The scene where Statham comes in and kills everybody in Dima's club and then drags him out of there to tell him where the girl is? Why wasn't that the scene where he meets Demi?
Yeah.
Why is he wasting time? Like he didn't learn anything else in between his first meeting and his second meeting with Demi. Any additional information? He just comes back and is like, okay, Demi, I know you know where she is because Jason Fleming told me that you are the one that runs the trafficking operation. So you're going to take me to where she is or I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Right.
And he does.
Yep. That's it.
That's it.
It's so easy. So easy to
takes him like
shave
40,
off
like
30
40
pages
minutes.
of this script.
And 2 or 3 days of movie time, like of in movie time.
Just a different movie that
it's
happens.
So weird. Also, related to the music scholarship thing, like when he comes in and Michael Pena hands him that mountain of cash because he's like, I could tell from afar you're the fucking badass of prophecy that we were all warned about. He's like, she went out with her friends on Friday. She didn't show up on Saturday. And she had a piano recital on Sunday. Half the family came. And I'm like, is she 9?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe one draft she was.
She's already turned down the music scholarship. Like, what else
it's
is
so
she?
Weirdly,
a piano recital?
It's like kind of infantilizing, but like she's also a badass. So it's like, because then she ends up...
Because just being musical is worthless.
Right. And this has got that 80s vibe where they're also like, well, someone has to kill the woman, the bad woman, and it can't be like the dude. Like Jason Statham can't shoot her because he's got like honor. Like they do that where they're like, she gets to kill the lady.
Right. She has to take a life and taste blood.
Yeah.
Which she does without hesitating. But at that point, I didn't have any problem believing that because she's been human trafficked by these 2 bozos for 5 days. Like, you'd probably kill them the second you got the chance.
When I realized watching this movie, I was like, this should have been her movie.
It should have been about her, yeah.
Yeah. It would have been so much better.
Statham his presence is so weird in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, why does he have a fucking blood debt to Michael Pena?
Because
to the point where he is abandoning and endangering his own daughter, who is like 10.
Right.
Who still needs him.
Well, they make it very unclear because he says, like, he offers him the money. And he's like, I don't do that, and leaves. And then later he's like, I'll do it. And there's no awkward moment where he's like, I'll do it. So you still have that money,
so
right?
Because,
I would be like, but also I'm going to need that fucking money because I have lawyers to pay. Like, they give him a reason to need money, but they never really, like, that's the thing is the lawyer stuff where he's like, I need a lawyer to fight my, like, that doesn't go anywhere. It never ends with him being like, and now I have all this money for the lawyers. Or it doesn't end with like his father-in-law going like, I'm dropping the lawsuits or whatever.
That never gets... I guess we're supposed to infer it, but it does end abruptly as fuck. Like you get whiplash with how quickly it ends.
Ends in David Harbour's Unabomber cabin. And it's just like, oh, I guess that'll work out.
With his wife who never speaks.
Yes. She doesn't need to.
Not one line.
You know why? I know why they did this. Because they were like, they wrote in David Harbour. Maybe there was a version where he helps out. They wanted this interesting, like his army veteran character. And then they were like, but it's weird if he leaves his daughter with him. Like, give him a wife so we know he's cool. Like, that's the vibe, right? Because it's like he's living in the woods with all his guns, and they wanted to be like, but he's not a weirdo. He's not like a weird prepper. See, he has a wife.
No, I mean, they establish he's his army buddy and that he's blind. So, again, along the infantilizing line,
But he's Daredevil.
Right. But I think they did that to show, like, he's a teddy bear. Or I guess it's just because David Harbour is a teddy bear.
Yeah, I think giving someone a spouse of any kind is a quick, easy way to be like,
of course, to make them, to show that this person's all right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like,
all right.
Why wouldn't he, like, another one of his army buddies that gets him points him in the direction of the first bar that he goes to where he finds Johnny, is a DEA agent.
Right.
It's like, dude,
I forgot about him.
Maybe leave your kid with the DEA agent.
They give him a whole scene.
Oh, no, wait, you wouldn't be safe with them.
No.
Oh, no, wait, that's the ATF.
I wouldn't be. Yeah.
I wouldn't trust the DEA with
Don't
child
trust the
either.
cops. Yeah. But they give him a whole scene, and I thought, like, oh, he'll come back.
Nope.
He's got one scene, and that's that.
Like, really establishing him, too, so you expect him to come back.
Yeah. It's real weird.
I was pretty sure we weren't going to see David Harbour again.
Oh, I just realized, I think he's the one who's Gladiator from the cast.
Oh,
I just looked at a picture of him, and I'm like, okay, I think... anyway. David Harbour doesn't really come back. There's so much bloat in this movie where it feels like it might have been another script at first, that they were like, can we make this a Jason Statham action vehicle instead of this like thriller or something? I don't know.
I said earlier, sorry, I did. Go ahead.
Oh, it ends with the haunted casino shootout.
Yeah.
He shoots the penguin so hard he flies into water.
He spins over like at an angle.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Like he sells it like a pro wrestler. A couple of people that get shot with this gun sell it like a pro wrestler. Also, I had written down in my notes in this final scene, he's playing Call of Duty wrong. Because he's running around no-scoping people with a sniper rifle in close quarters.
I wanted to mention that at the beginning of this movie, when he takes the shotgun, he aims it down the sight and holds it like sideways and right up to his face. And I'm like, yeah, you fire that shotgun and see what happens.
That's a pistol grip with no stock, man. You're going to bash your face.
Yeah, you are. That is not going to work out. That's the thing, is this feels like it's like conservative gun porn to the point that it doesn't understand how guns work.
Like this guy doesn't seem to know his guns.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. Breathtaking.
And so, he shoots at the casino. He kills the Matrix. And then he leaves the gun there. And I couldn't understand what that was about. He says like something.
He says a prayer to it. He says, I'll see you on the other side.
What the fuck? Also, isn't David Harbour going to be like, so where's my gun?
Where's my gun?
You left it at the crime scene?
Yeah.
That's my gun.
Yeah.
It's like they say that it doesn't have a serial number on it, but it's like you still don't leave the gun with your fingerprints that they could maybe trace back to me.
Or the mob, because they don't kill Skull Cane guy.
No, they don't.
The last time we see him, he is screaming his broken-hearted vengeance up to the sky.
They do very funny scene.
He's going to be a problem.
Yeah, he calls the bigger mob and he goes, I want vengeance. And they're like, no, let the devil go. And he's like, but he killed my family. And they're like, well, we'll kill you if you get vengeance. And it's like, and then he screams. And I'm like, all right, that was sweaty and weird. And I guess a sequel. Or
maybe they thought we would get from that, like, oh, that's why he's screaming, because he can't get his vengeance. But it's like, no,
right.
I don't buy that.
And then he drives her back to her family, covered in mud, just fucked up. And then they look at each other and she says, snitches get stitches, which is what they said at the beginning. Is she implying that she's not going to tell her family any of this?
She probably won't tell them about the murders.
But I guess. Like, why? I guess there would be a lot of, but like, the cops are going to find out about the murders. They're going to put this all together. Is her family not going to call the cops about this?
Also, why didn't he take her to the hospital first?
Yeah.
Anyway.
He literally just drops her off and her whole family's there just like hanging out, having breakfast. It feels like they moved on because it's been a week.
You know, you all gather.
It felt like it's been a week and they're like, I guess we should mourn her because like statistically speaking, she is dead.
Oh yeah. She's super dead.
I sent Jason Statham out a week ago. So clearly. But like, it's just so weird. The snitches get stitches. I was just like, what exactly aren't you going to tell them?
Yeah, which part
and
of it?
Why? Yeah. And like, again, the cops will be involved. It's weird. I don't know. It's whatever. And then he has breakfast with his daughter at the David Harbour's house. And I'm sure at that point, his father-in-law is like, he kidnapped kidnapped his daughter, right? Like he didn't have, his father-in-law has custody.
Or he's trying to get, well, yeah, that is
For
true.
his father-in-law, his father-in-law, basically the Russian mob tried to kill him, burned down his house, and Jason Statham was like, I'm taking my daughter, you go to the hospital. And then surely at the hospital he was like, I should probably call the police. There's just no way this movie, like the day after this movie, isn't just more bloodshed and more heartbreak.
I do feel like maybe, like if that was truly the Russian gang leader's stance, where he's like, this has nothing to do with our business. Like that's basically why he's like, we're going to move on from this, because like this doesn't have anything to do with our money, and like it's wasting a lot of our guys. So like maybe let's move on.
Yeah, I get that. Where
I mean, that's the part of the John Wick of it all, right?
Right.
Where they're just like, oh fuck it, just let him go, or like Peter Stormare in the beginning of John Wick 2.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, but they like again,
they really don't know how to do it.
No, not at all. Because it's like this weird back and forth where they're like, he's the devil, let the devil have what he wants at the end, but it's like, I don't know. And then all this for one kidnapped woman, and it's like, yeah. Like, I don't know. It's weird balance where it's like they want to be a lot of things at once, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels a little bit committee where they're like, we need to be a John Wick, but also like we want this like thing where he baptize kills people and he's like a working man. And it's like, okay, he's a working man. Is that going to play into it at all? Not really. Just
the idea that he's a blue collar guy and he's not a thief, so he keeps throwing their money back at him when he could steal it. And
right, and they're like, but she should kidnap her, or she should rescue herself, because we gotta get the ladies in. We gotta we gotta get some appeal like for the youngs or something.
The worst thing you can be in right wing culture, I guess, is a victim.
Right,
comes through in all these movies.
So like
if you don't fight back, you're in these kinds of movies, they're often portrayed as being weak or as deserving of their fate to some extent. It's like, oh, they were too weak to defend themselves. That's also another thing I wanted to point out is they like he's a soldier, and they go in a lot like his honor and stuff, like in these traditions that and his loyalty and stuff, where he like says a prayer for the gun, and he like prays with the army ranger guy, the king of the bikers, when he has to kill him. They share like a moment because they were both in the service, and but also like he kills a whole lot of defenseless people after torturing them.
Yeah, he sure does.
Like a lot of the people he kills are completely helpless.
God, you're right.
Which is supposed to be actually, no, it's not. It's not a bad thing in this type of conservative action movie.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing to their audience. Their audience being 5 very old people in the Regal cinema with me,
who want to see flamboyantly dressed straw man bad guys plead for their lives. Right.
This is based off a comic book, by the way, or a book series called Levon's Trade, or Levon. It's the Levon Cade series. I think it's called Levon's Trade.
That was the name of the
It's the guy. It's from a guy who did at least some Punisher and Batman comics, which checks out.
Oh, what's his name?
It's from Charles Dixon.
That name feels familiar. But I was gonna say, I wonder if the Stallone credit on this was like literally transplanting part of his Last Blood script.
Something like that.
Because a lot of it is very similar.
It really feels like some sort of monster Frankenstein.
It's definitely
script.
A Frankenstein.
Yeah, where it's like based off this comic or book series, but then Stallone has a credit as well. And then it's just like, I don't know what happened, what this was. And honestly, if you were to tell me that it was this wild Frankenstein thing, I would at least say like, well, it came together better than I'd expect for that. But still, there's still a lot of work they could have done on this
script.
It's so repetitive. Like that is the weirdest part. You can feel the bloat.
Yeah, it's embarrassingly right wing too. So
yes,
nowhere near as fun as
Beekeeper.
The Beekeeper.
Yeah, this is if people. We said this at the top, and I think that was important to say is that if you were gonna watch this because you're like, I loved Beekeeper, this is just it's not as fun.
It's not need Kurt Wimmer.
Yeah, it's not as like over the top where the villain's skateboarding into a scene or the villain is the president. It's not like the so boomer conservative that it's
Beekeeper
funny.
Felt more harmless. Boomer porn.
Yeah, because it's so obvious. Yeah. This one feels like, yeah, you're right, a little more like.
Well, and at least like old people getting scammed is a real thing, not the way they portrayed the organization.
Yeah. It's so much more over the top.
Yeah.
And this one is like, feels more like traditional 80s, 90s conservative.
And I don't think Kurt Wimmer has a mean bone in his body.
No, he's like a golden retriever.
I think he does all of these things completely earnestly.
Right. Sometimes a golden retriever mauls a child. It was just trying to play.
Yeah.
Like
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Anyway. Oh, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, it's just like, it's not that he always makes things that I'm like, that's morally good. It's just that I'm like, I don't believe he's like,
he doesn't want to hurt anybody.
Good Michael Bay.
Yeah. He's not mean spirited.
And I say that knowing nothing about the man.
No. I'm just saying the stories he writes. I don't know the man. I don't mean the man personally, but the stories he writes are not mean spirited like this movie is.
Right.
I don't have anything else to say about it, Dave.
A working man, folks. Check it out.
Or just watch the Beekeeper again.
Watch the
Beekeeper again. This was a disappointment.
Yeah. But thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, GAMEFULLY unemployed. We watch movies every Friday night, and to give you some context, we watched The Beekeeper, and we will watch it again.
Oh yeah,
we probably won't watch this because as fun as we had talking about it, it's not that fun to watch.
No, it's really dull.
There
are bright spots, but they're too. Yeah, the action wasn't very good.
No,
which was weird because that's still David Ayer in Beekeeper.
Right.
Like that's not Kurt Wimmer choreographing and shooting the action sequences.
Yeah, this one just felt I don't know. But check that out. We have exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. I want to plug Marvelin. In the next 2 weeks, Marvelin will be coming out. You'll find out what it is. It's going to be out Friday, so check that out.
Yeah, we're taking 2 weeks off of the hype cast here because Dave's going on vacation.
I'm taking a little trip.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do a little working man of myself.
Dave's risking climbing into an airplane.
Yeah.
We also have a store. Head over to gameplayunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork by cool original artists like Michael Vincent Bramley, Starlene Hodge, Justin Brown, and others. So check that out.
Yeah, do it.
Rate and review our podcast, please. It helps. Even if you don't like it, I don't know. Just rate and review. And check out our new podcast.
Well, hold on.
BADICAL, Batical.
Batical. If you don't like it, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
It's fine.
It. But anyway, check out our new show, Batical, BADICAL, wherever you find podcasts. And let's get out of here.
Let's leave you now. Hey, listen, our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can find him on twitter.com as the Corlew or go to shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. For more of his work, go to mvbramley.art. Our episode artwork is by Justin Brown, available on Twitter as Justin T. Brown or at artnessbyjustinbrown.com. And finally, additional artwork is by Starlene Hodge. You can find her work at starlenearts.com or on Twitter as StarleneX. Cool. Goodbye.